Welcome to Backyard Professor Live Show. Tonight, Sunday, September 21st, 2025. Rather than continue on the saga of 3i Atlas, there is still a lot more to cover, but people have expressed how do I put this? An impatience for me to move on to another subject. You see, our culture has convinced us that if you spend more than 1 hour on a subject, you're wasting your time. And that is a crying shame. 3i Atlas is going to be here in a couple of days. So I thought rather than talking about 3i Atlas tonight on my live, I will go to the next most interesting subject, the discovery of life on Mars, which comes while 3i Atlas is making its way to, guess where? Mars. And the conspiracy theories explode. Now we get into the real meat. And 99% of it is pure malarkey. And I know you're getting sick of me saying that. Then quit watching the malarkey stuff and get to the real stuff, would be my serious advice. I'm going to explore the difference again on this subject of life has been discovered on Mars. I'm going to say it as clear and as straightforward as I can. No, it has not. And I will show you why I say that tonight. The sensationalists take over the narrative and completely blow it entirely and ridiculously out of proportion, and everyone thinks that's what the science is saying when it's actually not. I'm going to show you again tonight how to sift the true from the false. Now, I've had someone in the comments tell me that they hope I'm at least going to mention Brandenburg, and I will. I've been looking into this Dr. Brandenburg. He did a wonderful interview with Jesse Michaels on American Alchemy, and it was a fantastic interview. Unfortunately, and crazy enough, he is seriously wrong about his claims of nuclear war on Mars, and I will share why that is going to happen and that he is wrong. I'll share it toward the end, so you got to stick with me to the end of this live, because Brandenburg is a very important voice in this, I say ufology. It's not really ufology, but it's this context of life elsewhere besides on Earth. And it's a very romantic, interesting, fascinating concept based on the chemical evidence that Dr. Brandenburg gives. I cannot ascribe to nuclear war destroying a civilization on Mars. I dissent from that idea, and I will explain my reasons why. And I am thoroughly convinced he is misreading the evidence, sincerely. And he's certainly stretching the evidence vastly further than it ever merits at this point. I am entirely open-minded to the fact that is exactly the scenario that could have happened anciently. There really could have been a nuclear holocaust on Mars by an advanced civilization beyond our own, but you better come up with better evidence than what Dr. Brandenburg has given us so far, because based on that evidence, it's a very solid no chance. So, first things first, the announcement is incredible. The timing is amazing. There's even more comets that have just recently been found, but people are, they're getting impatient about this 3i Atlas right at the crescendo of it all. And so I'm going to leave it alone for a day or two, and I'm going to go to Mars, and we're going to talk about this perfect example. Let me show you what I mean. First, I will give you a very interesting statement by a very good website that a sensationalist has taken the ball and tried to run into the end zone to make a touchdown. And in the process, he makes all sorts of wild, ridiculous, unsupported claims. And I'm going to share those claims from his own clip. But first, the legitimate stuff. Let's take a listen at what this guy said. And it's only 22 seconds. From this first 22 seconds, we get an entire smorgasbord of science fiction pap and pablum from there on out. It's the most astonishing human creative malarkey touch I have ever witnessed. Maybe other than Ross Coulthart's extraordinary video with the guy the other day that was a complete fiasco. Let's go to the tape, or go to the video, I should say. Let's take a listen to this guy. This is Astro Kobe. I like him. He's good. Seriously, he's good. Let's listen.
Look at this rock. It's covered in a strange pattern of dark spots. Patterns like this are nearly always traced back to life forms, microbes and bacteria. But this rock isn't from Earth. It's from Mars. The rock was recently discovered by NASA's Perseverance rover, and yesterday in a press conference, they claimed it was the best evidence to date of alien life on Mars.
Now, the fact is, the press conference did not say alien life on Mars. But man, have the sensationalists taken that statement from this video and made hay with it. Let's take a look at what I mean. It's positively incredible how creative we humans can get, even when it's fantasy make-believe masquerading as scientific fact and reality. Let's take a look. I'll grab this video real quick. And this is fun because it is so amazing how realistic he makes all of this sound. And he distorts literally everything about this subject. It's breathtaking. Let's take a listen. This guy runs a site. He uses AI voice, which is too bad. This is Uncovered X. This is his video. NASA's Mars rover found a fossil. It did no such thing, but it's a great sensational title. Found a fossil that revealed human-like DNA. This is disturbing. What's disturbing is he can get away with stupid shit like this. Let's listen for a minute. I want you to carefully observe the visuals of his clever misuse of the evidence.
It's covered in a strange pattern of dark spots. Patterns like this are nearly always traced back to life forms, microbes and bacteria. But this rock isn't from Earth. It's from Mars. The rock was recently discovered by NASA's Perseverance rover, and yesterday in a press conference, they claimed it was the best evidence to date of alien life on Mars.
Look. Did you notice the incredible difference with this guy's video? The original guy said the best evidence for alien life, which NASA did not say that. So he misunderstood that also. But when the sensationalist takes over on Uncovered X, and yes, I'm calling him out for his sheer chicancery and fakeness, he shows a video image, CGI of course, of a dead alien at a crashed spaceship, as if that is the alien life that NASA found. Pure bunk. But this guy at Uncovered X does stuff like this over and over and over again, And it's very helpful to be able to see the subtleties of deception away from what we actually know and what was actually said, to him determined to turn this into a narrative that no one is claiming. And yet thousands and thousands and thousands of people watch his channel daily. And I'm not arguing that you shouldn't. I'm saying we need to be very careful with what we believe, both visually as well as verbally. Let's keep going on what this guy says, because he really pulls some weird stuff going on here that is staggering. This is highly misleading at best, and that's just the beginning of his video. I'm going to go to, once again, going to move it forward to here. Close enough.
Ancient life on Mars.
It may be the clearest evidence yet of an intelligent Martian civilization, a civilization that could have existed millions of years before Earth had even formed. For decades, we've looked for microbes on Mars, assuming any life would be small, primitive, and struggling in the mud.
So notice what this guy has done immediately. We have found microbes that on Earth are associated with life processes, and we found it on Mars, and he has already made the quantum leap to entire civilizations of intelligent beings that have technology superior to us, and his visuals show civilizations on the Martian landscape, as if this is what NASA has discovered, as if this is the implications of the discovery of what NASA has found with the rover. And nobody but this cat does this. He is so full of baloney, I can't hardly fathom how his mama would be proud of this. This is pure silliness, in my opinion. But we're nowhere near done. Let's keep going. Another short clip, and I will comment on what else he says. That is amazing. I have to back it up to 152 here real quick. All right, close enough.
For decades, we've looked for microbes on Mars, assuming any life would be small, primitive, and struggling in the mud. But now, confronted with these findings, we must imagine something very different.
Oh, I apologize. You didn't see that, did you? Nope, you didn't see that. I apologize. Let me go back and I'll show it to you again. Boy, this is the defect of doing this live. All right, hold on. I'll go back to 152. Okay, here we go.
On Mars, assuming any life would be small, primitive, and struggling in the mud. But now, confronted with these findings, we must imagine something very different.
Okay, that was important for you to hear, because notice how he's laying the groundwork, and it's entirely made up. It's just an invention in his own fantasy mind, that we've been looking for microbes. Now we have found something that is involved with life processes as we understand it here on our planet, for sure. We found something similar to that on Mars. And now he says, we've been looking for microbes, but now we must think of something different. No, we shouldn't. There's absolutely no justification whatsoever in any of the evidence the rovers have found that we have to see something different now. Where does he get this adamant, we must think of our own idea instead of what the evidence shows, I have no idea. But I'm saying no to him. I don't have to think of anything other than what the evidence shows. That is crystal clear. You see, this is just simply preposterous make-believe is what he's doing. He's leading us up to his grand poopah conclusion, and he does so very cleverly, I think. Let's go back, get him back on stage. We've got a little bit more to talk. And notice who he's showing, man. Cox, the great nuclear physicist. He's going to show scientists who have great pizzazz and power and authority, etc. None of these guys he's showing accepts his view. This is all deceptive visuals on his part. Brian Cox, I can absolutely assure you, is not saying what this gentleman in this video is saying. Not at all. I promise. Brian Cox is not supporting this theory. Let's take a listen.
That our neighbor world might once have been home to a species so advanced it could reshape its planet and leave behind an artifact designed to last forever.
That is all pure fantasy. This is what he's saying we really have to believe based on the evidence of a small microbe that is found on Mars, that we now have to. We have no choice. The evidence points to this super advanced civilization, and it left an artifact on Mars that's going to last forever, and we found it. None of that has any kind of reality to it at all. It's astonishing how inanely silly this whole video is. But he's not done, and neither am I. So let's keep going. This ludicrousness continues. I will show you more. I've got to jump up to 413 real quick. Let me jump up. All right, here we go. Listen to this. You think that was a whopper? Listen to this.
Sherlock was picking up something closer to fossilized soft tissue, cartilage, marrow, or their Martian equivalents, frozen for billions of years. Taken together, these results made the slab look less like mudstone and more like the petrified imprint of a body.
I promise you, there was no cartilage, there was no bone, there was no physical body found on Mars in this dry lake. The rover did not find anything of the sort. Where he gets this from, I have no idea, but it's in absolutely none of the scientific literature. It's absolutely nowhere on any of the sites that know about the rover mission, and the mathematicians, the philosophers, the scientists. This guy is simply making stuff up in order to fit a carefully crafted narrative that he wants us to believe proves aliens. And what it proves is humans will stoop as low as they can to deceive you, and they will use any means at their disposal. They will distort science. They will distort visuals. They will distort narratives. They will distort evidence. They will make up evidence. They will do anything they can except tell the truth. And I'm calling them out on it. This is bunk. But this guy isn't done yet. He even gets more and more extravagant, if you can believe it. It's staggering how ludicrous this huge leaping extraction that he makes is. Oh, it's starting to rain. I have to go inside. Hold on. I've got to move my setup in the workshop real quick. I prepared for this in case. It's been rainy all day, and I can't let my computer get rain on it, so I apologize. But woohoo! This is a great angle to see the backyard professor. Look right up my nose. Yeah, there we go. Okay, hold on. I apologize for the interruption. Hope it didn't distort. Hold on, I got to go grab my other notes. I'll be right back. All right. Come on, you expect wild stuff like that from the backyard professor, right? That's what makes the channel so fun, is I don't do things normal. I do things different. And that's the way it is. I got to shut my toolbox. Move my toolbox off my chair, and now we can get down to business. Okay, there we go. See, that wasn't too bad. That's not too bad. All my tools are on the back shelf, on the back wall. So here's what is so interesting about this, is he keeps going with even more incredible, astonishing fake claims. It's like no one has ever held him accountable for telling the truth in his life until right now. He thinks he can do this stuff and get away with it. I don't believe him at all. So here we go. Let me see if I'm on track here. Yes. Okay. Now this part is exquisitely breathtaking for ischacantry. Let's watch. Hold on. Let me make sure you're seeing it. Boy. Okay. Yes, you are seeing it. All right. Hang on. Here we go. More fun.
Print of a body.
We sent Spirit there to seek out sediments, to look for sedimentary rocks that were laid down long ago in that lake.
The pattern suggested the mineralized remains of a complex, multicellular organism with a body plan shockingly similar to ours. Not a single-celled microbe, not a smear of slime, but a creature with blood chemistry.
I apologize. This is astonishing. His leap that they didn't find just a microbe. They found evidence of a body just like ours that had blood chemistry, and he's hinted that there's collagen and ligaments and bones, etc. You know, he wants to say they found a dead alien. That's what he wants to say, and he's skirting around the issue, and no one else on this entire planet is saying that. No one, except this guy. It is so staggeringly off base that I can't even categorize this claim. That's how wildly irrelevant it is to the actual evidence that the Mars rover found. But what a heyday he's having, building up this false buildup of, we have found an ancient civilization on Mars. And we haven't even found life yet. Even that's a hype up. So I love his ridiculous, misleading visual of the bones here. Now this is good. This is too good. This is so astonishing. I can't believe it. All right, here we go. Check this out. Man, I've got to go back here. This is rich. I had so much fun seeing this, I couldn't stand it. All right, listen to what he says here.
Smear of slime, but a creature with blood chemistry, skeletal material, and connective tissue. Publicly, NASA called it an unprecedented biosignature. Privately, some of the scientists started calling it something else, the Rosetta Stone of Mars.
Notice, whoa, his visual is, check this out, man. There's a skeleton. And the impression is it's on Mars. It's not on Mars. It's something that he got off Google or something, you know. But he wants you to think and imagine that we have the makings of a skeleton and a blood entity here. This is huge. And what's more is publicly now. Now, notice how he is on the inside getting this knowledge. That's the impression he's leaving you. He must be one of the lab rats with the telescope or the microscope checking things out at NASA, because he says publicly it's an unprecedented biosignature. And even that's not accurately portrayed. But what he says next is seriously amazing. But privately, they're saying something entirely different. They are calling this the Rosetta Stone of Mars. Now, how would he possibly know that's what they're saying privately? You see what I mean? You see the problem here? This is absolutely sensational nonsense. Right? There is not one scientific paper out there yet throughout the vast concourse of the scientific literature who has said anything that this guy has said. Nothing. It's full of malarkey. It's fake. It's fake. That's what it is. So now I want to share one more thing, a few more things. And then I want to get to a very serious thing, a very serious deal with the interview Jesse Michaels had of Brandenburg, which is quite exquisitely interesting. All right, that's up. Okay, 506. No, 506, 520. Listen to what he says here.
Over the next year, they tested it, beaming the data back to Earth, running every possible simulation, and in turn, trying to match what they saw to any natural process. Nothing worked. The pattern was too neat, too exact, and the chemistry far advanced to be an accident of nature. The deeper the analysts went, the stranger it became.
He's making it far more complex than the science actually said. Let's keep going, because he keeps adding to the silliness here. It's astonishing. All right, you ready for more fun?
The carbon channels showed a triple spiral molecule like DNA, but with 3 strands instead of 2, arranged in perfect symmetry. When the positions of the dots were processed with advanced computer modeling, the pattern spelled out a clear sequence of prime numbers. Nature does not count prime numbers.
Now, on the face of it, that sounds mind-boggling. Whoa, the scientists have found DNA, and not just the typical boring human double-strand DNA. What they have found on Mars through this rover is a 3-strand, perfectly symmetrical DNA. In other words, alien DNA. This is the real McCoy. And not only that, the biosignature reveals prime numbers, and that isn't to be found in nature. Now, I need to read some research that I did, and this is really quite astonishing that what he says. Hold on, let me find it real quick. This is worth waiting for. I thought I went right to it, but the idea of claiming DNA is absolutely 100% science fiction. The sensational claim says you found a fossil and or human DNA. There is no human DNA discovered on Mars. There are no fossils. What we have is measured minerals and organic carbon. When a sensationalist claims life is confirmed on Mars, What they are actually saying in the scientific literature is potential biosignatures. So far, rigorous peer review is still needed because this just recently happened and was talked about, right? And if they talk about something about dinosaur bones, various videos talk about bones and dinosaur bones. This guy wants to make it alien bones, but others have said dinosaur bones. All of it is just rock patterns. There is no structural bone type biology at all. So here's what we have to come to a reality for. The fossil that he showed, it's a skeleton embedded in rock, isn't from Mars. It's an Earth photo. We can tell that through the images, the many videos using public domain or stock fossil photos of skeletons in sediment. That's probably where he got the photo. There are no bones. There are no human-like DNA confirmed on Mars. And this is a huge contrast between real science and sensationalistic-like claims. Hold on. I couldn't pinpoint the fossil. It's okay. It's not a big deal. Now, here is the significance on this claim of the DNA. It's disturbing, of course, because the point is we don't have any skeletons and no human-like DNA. The leopard spots are minerals. They're not fossils. They're minerals. Dark rings in mudstone cores. They have, you know, the two famous minerals that they've been talking about, the Vivianite and the Greigite. On Earth, these are sometimes formed in association with microbes, but they also form without life through normal chemical reactions. And that the scientific literature has also discussed, that I've been able to find and track down. So it's not proof that this is life. It's not proof that this is even potential life or DNA or fossils. That's what's important. Nobody, in fact, the peer-reviewed Nature paper, it was just published, it has no claims of bones or fossils or DNA. None of that type of language shows up in any of the literature at all. It's cautious. They say there's a potential biosignature. Now that's realistic. That means one possible sign of past life, but this is not proof, and no one uses that word either. The scientists go out of their way to list abiotic explanations. That is, the chemistry can occur without life. And this guy in this video doesn't talk about that at all. So the idea on the DNA, I wrote this up. Hold on. Here we go. The claim from Uncovered X or similar sensationalist videos that the scientists found DNA with 3 strands instead of 2 is not supported anywhere in the released scientific literature that's available to us. I can find no mention of 3-stranded DNA in astronomy. You can look up planetary science reports. You can look up the various types of announcements that NASA has made. They never talk about DNA, let alone the rare 3-stranded DNA. It's not in any peer-reviewed publications about Cheava Falls. It's nowhere except this guy's video. So this claim also raises high plausibility problems if someone tries to argue for it. Good luck, you're going to need it. So there's no instrumentation on any of the rovers that are even capable of detecting. They can't sequence, and they also can't verify DNA sequences. It's not equipped for that. what that takes, I mean, any of us who's watched Gary Nolan knows what DNA sequencing and studying DNA involves. It is an arduous lab procedure. It doesn't happen on a rover that's the size of an SUV up on another planet. That's not how this works. All published reports say potential biosignatures. None say DNA or the genetic material was recovered. That's bogus. These are sensationalist leaps, not science. So when you see this claim, three-stranded DNA in a video, check whether it's sourced. It's not sourced. It's simply his AI voice saying it was found. There's absolutely no evidence. And the real kicker is there's no DNA equipment on the rover in the first place. So that claim is absolutely a bald-faced lie. That's what I wanted to get to you. That's amazing. So let's take a look at one other item. I do believe 528, yes. One last claim that is just staggering beyond belief that this guy makes that I want to share with you, and only he makes it. It's not like he hasn't invented enough yet already, but this one really takes the cake. It's not even creative, it's just bunk.
But minds do. Back on Earth, the scientists tried every other explanation. Could acidic water make these minerals? Could heating and cooling cycles carve the pattern? Could some unknown reaction in Martian mud build these huge molecules? Each answer came back no. And so, step by step, the natural explanations fell away. As a result, more and more scientists began to believe Perseverance had drilled out not the trace of a germ, but the frozen fingerprints of a civilization.
Absolutely no one has made that claim whatsoever. No one except him. They're not saying this is the carving out of a magnificent civilization. We've now found the fingerprint. They found minerals, and they can give rise through non-chemical, non-life ways. It's just amazing how ridiculous this video is. That's enough of this guy. He's so over the top. I just wanted to give you an indication of videos that are going to take either 3-Eye Atlas, or they're going to take this Life on Mars rover discovered potential biosignatures. They're going to take these scientific ideas and they're going to spin wild, woolly, completely fake yarns, and we can test these claims. The worst thing you can do is just believe what you're seeing or hearing. Now, unfortunately, that also goes for this interview that Jesse Michaels had with Dr. Brandenburg. His claim is exquisitely romantic. It's also quite terrifying. But the basis of his claim appears to me to be faulty. And here's why I say that. First, let's go to the clip. And I will share the clip with you of where Dr. Brandenburg makes his most incredible claim, and which I say, no, I don't follow that at all at this point. I don't believe it, and I have my reasons why, which I will share with you right now. Yes, I also got my ears lowered. Thanks, Aaron Clark. Yeah, I got a haircut today. I look much better, but I didn't shave, so I look like a bum after all. That's the way it works. All right. Let's take this from here. I'm a little ahead of myself here. All right. Right about there is close enough. Okay, now, this is incredibly important to grasp why he's saying this. and it's somewhat subtle. I will try to explain it out in detail. I've got a couple of clips that I need to share with you, and then I will discuss it.
Interesting, but it's also, I think, maybe the least accessible for the lay audience. How did you get into the idea that there may have been life on Mars in the past, in the distant past?
The Viking missions had been in 1976, and when I was in graduate school, and they gave the verdict. They tested for life in the soil. And they said,
You want to just tell people what are the Viking
the
missions?
Vikings were a very ambitious double probe mission. It was ultimate vacuum tube technology kind of mission. And they sent these probes to Mars. They photographed the surface of Mars in great detail with just superb cameras. They landed 2 landers to test the soil for life. And they got mixed results, which now can be interpreted as they found life. But at the same time, they also sampled the atmosphere and found a great excess of radiogenic isotopes. They're stable isotopes, but they're formed by powerful nuclear reactions. And they found that on Mars, and that made Mars unique. It was so unique that when we started getting meteorites, we started recognizing, oh, there are these strange meteorites. And it looks like they come from Mars, and they tested the gas trapped and they found the same pattern of strange strange isotopes in the Mars, what they thought were Mars meteorites. And that's how they figured out that they were from Mars, because the Mars isotopic signatures are so unique in the solar system.
And what exact isotopic signatures did they find?
Well, they found a large amount of xenon-129, which is the product of 2 things: supernova explosions and hydrogen bomb explosions. And we know there was no supernova on Mars. If there was, there wouldn't be a solar system here.
And you said there was one other, argon?
There was when you irradiate rocks that have potassium in them, and all rocks do, they produce a isotope called argon-40, and that's super abundant on Mars. So you have 2 things that are products of what look like an intense nuclear reaction on Mars in the atmosphere, and the residues of that remain in the atmosphere. They're stable and they last forever. So, but they also found what looked like archaeology on Mars, and that was initially the most exciting thing.
Okay, so that's what he says about xenon-129. Now he goes on to discuss another chemical element that shows there was a nuclear war on Mars. I want to share that clip, and then I will put the 2 together, and I will give my response of why I think he's misunderstanding a lot of crucial information here based on what he says. He is a legitimate scientist. I'm not mocking his science. I'm saying his conclusions don't follow the evidence because he's not presenting the information accurately. Scientists do make mistakes. It's not a crime. Okay, let's keep going for just another couple of moments.
I only found out the significance of the isotopes on Mars from a staffer at Sandia Labs.
What's the convention? If I were to, be sitting across from Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I said, I were to say, because he's
I've
tried
met
to
him, he's a very pleasant fellow.
He's tried to explain away, the face on Sidonia or whatever, that, this famous, seemingly artificial structure.
I would love
or
to
whatever.
sit down and talk with him.
That would be great to host a debate. He did.
As long as they let me bring my pictures of it from NASA.
Yeah, I think he would shy away from debate. I think he likes, to kind of pontificate and act smarter than everybody else on his own show. But
I'm calling him out. Throw down, dude.
I know. Well, we've called him out multiple times on the show.
Throw down.
And he just, I think
I'll be waiting.
Yeah, let's do it. But from your lips to God's ears. But so if I were sitting across from him, let's just, you know, a little audience surrogate devil's advocate question.
Sure.
How would he explain xenon 129 and argon 40?
He can't.
But would he
That's the
admit?
short answer.
Now, here I completely disagree. He can, he could, and if he can't, I can. There is another explanation, but let's keep going because he brings in something else exquisitely interesting that I also think is based on a misunderstanding about the chemicals.
Answer.
Would he admit
it
that?
is he probably wouldn't admit it, but I've
No,
checked.
but would he admit that we found those?
Oh, yes, he would. Yes,
That's
he
a
would.
fact.
That's a fact.
Okay.
That's indisputable. And
So he would just say there's probably some other explanation, but I don't know what it is.
but
or
yeah,
something?
that's what he would say.
Yeah, that's
and
usually the case,
I have reviewed the literature very carefully on this. You can imagine I'm sticking my neck out as a scientist.
Yep.
But I found that the consensus among the real experts on isotopes, not just on Mars, but on the other planets and meteorites and things like this, is that there is no explanation for the xenon 129 superabundance or the argon 40 superabundance.
Yeah. So let's get into other possible evidence. Okay, so that's really interesting. And do the two, so xenon 129, that would come from these large hydrogen explosions,
Yes.
is that right? And then argon.
And supernovas, but it was not a supernova on Mars.
Right, and I don't think anybody would contest that because
No.
it's not a star; it's a planet. So, and then the second thing, the argon 40, that's a result of some sort of explosive event with potassium. Is that right?
Well, it means a lot of potassium was irradiated by neutrons,
Okay.
which is a typical byproduct of any
nuclear.
hydrogen bomb or any nuclear explosive produces a lot of neutrons. That's where they got the neutron bomb.
And okay, so that's interesting. Okay, so that's kind of hard to argue with, right? Like that's one piece
You
of
can't
evidence,
argue
right?
with it.
Okay, now I'm going to admit right up front, I am not the scientist that this gentleman Brandenburg is. He is legit. I'm not questioning that. I'm saying his analysis of the xenon 129 and the argon 40 as evidence for a nuclear war with advanced civilizations on Mars that wiped out entire civilizations on Mars is a gross extrapolation, and there are other evidences and ways to understand the nature and the preponderance of these chemicals on Mars. I will say right now, one of the things I use, and I love it, I'm not paid to say this, as a research assistant, is ChatGPT for this reason, not as final answers. What ChatGPT can do for you as you explore various claims, such as Brandenburg's extraordinary claim here, because it's mind-bogglingly astonishing claim that there was nuclear war on Mars. And it's romantic. I mean, it has everything to do with us. It pulls your heartstrings. This is terrifying. This is terrifying, the idea of nuclear war. And crap, if it happened on that planet, now we have that power. It could happen with us. Mars is our warning, as it were, right? I asked ChatGPT to give me the scientific literature on this claim of how the elements give us evidence of nuclear war. Now, he says it can't be argued. I completely disagree. Let me show you what ChatGPT came up with the scientific sources. It will give you links to the sources. You can click on the sources and you can read the sources. That's vital. Here we go. What is xenon 129? It's a stable isotope of xenon. He said that correctly, yes. It makes up, now here is the first thing that is so intriguing. It makes up about 26.4% of naturally occurring xenon on Earth. Hey, let me, hold on, I will bring up my chat GPT here. That way you can see it with me as I'm reading it. This is good to watch. This is good to see. I'm willing to show this. Absolutely. I apologize I didn't show it at first. Okay, so here we go. Here's all about the xenon information. It makes up about 26.4% of naturally occurring xenon on Earth. So it is very much present in the Earth's atmosphere, the rocks and minerals, not just in supernova or nuclear explosions. And that's critical because what applies to Earth applies to Mars, and I'll show you why. So where does xenon 129 come from? Now, he's essentially correct, except for a couple of items that make all the difference. All heavy elements, xenon isotopes included, come from stellar nucleosynthesis. Of course, the supernova, the asymptotic giant branch stars, neutron star mergers. We know that. That's true. That's accurate. In particular, here's the part he never told us, but this is the part that refutes him. Iodine 129 is a radioactive isotope produced in supernova. It has a half-life of 15.5 million years, 15.7 to be exact. When the solar system was young, iodine 29 was present. It decayed into xenon 129. That's why we find excess xenon 129 trapped in meteors, meteorites, lunar rocks, and Earth's mantle. It's a fingerprint of the early solar system. He did not inform us of that. He said there were only two ways xenon 129 could exist, and that's false. There is a third way, and this is the third way. Iodine 129 decayed into xenon 129. Now, today, iodine 129 is extinct because it all decayed long ago. But the 129 xenon produced is still here and it's stable. So Earth has a natural abundance of xenon 129. It's not exotic, nor is it absent outside of explosions. It's here. Now, nuclear and weapons context, hydrogen bombs and nuclear reactions. It's true. Yes, nuclear fission fusion processes can produce xenon isotopes, including xenon 129, 133, 135, etc. That's why monitoring for radioactive xenon is part of nuclear test ban treaty verification. That makes sense. But xenon 129 itself isn't unique to hydrogen bombs. It's just one of the stable isotopes that can be produced in nuclear reactions. That's not what Mr. Brandenburg said, though. He missed that. So is the claim true? It's not true. Xenon 29 is not absent from Earth or only found in supernova and hydrogen bombs. The true origin traces back to stellar nucleosynthesis and the decay of iodine 129 from early supernova before the solar system formed. It's true in the nuclear context. Xenon 129 can indeed be produced during nuclear weapons tests, but it's already abundantly natural in Earth's xenon. So it's not just nuclear explosions that create xenon. It's already here on Earth before any of our nuclear explosions. So I ask, xenon is not a unique isotopic identity of Mars. Meteorites we find on Earth and know that they are from Mars, like he says. Xenon 129 could have evolved on Mars as well, which is why it's found there, yes. Is there any evidence of Xenon 129 elsewhere in our solar system that is written on? Chat says you're spot on to ask this. Xenon isotopes are one of the fingerprints planetary scientists use to understand the origins of atmospheres and meteorites. Let's break it down clearly. Xenon 129 on Earth, it has 9 stable isotopes, 124 through 136. On Earth, the atmospheric isotopic mix is well known. 26% of natural xenon is xenon 129. And it's been here for billions of years. That's important because he says the only way it can come about is through supernova or nuclear explosions. It came through from decay from iodine 129, is what this is saying. The xenon 129 abundance is a cosmochemical inheritance. It's the end product of decay of extinct iodine 129. Early in solar system history, there was a lot of iodine 129 that were made into supernova, and it all decayed into xenon 129, which got trapped in atmospheres and rocks. Xenon 129 on Mars. Now, this is his big claim. Yes, Mars also has xenon 129 excess, absolutely. The Viking landers in the 1970s, later confirmed by Curiosity and MAVEN, showed the Martian atmosphere is enriched in xenon 129 relative to Earth. This is understood as a sign of massive early atmospheric loss on Mars. That's how the science translates this issue. When lighter isotopes escaped more easily, the heavier xenon isotopes, including 129, were left behind in greater relative abundance. So the presence, and this is the key, this is the takeaway, the presence of xenon 129 is not unique to Mars, but its ratio compared to other isotopes is distinctive. And that's why meteorites with the same xenon isotope ratios are identified as Martian. He doesn't quite get that information correct either. There is xenon 129 elsewhere in the solar system. There is good literature on this. There are primitive meteorites, chondrites, often show excess xenon 129 from the decay of iodine 129. This is one of the key clocks used in early solar system chronology, the so-called IG dating system. On the moon, lunar samples brought back by Apollo also contained xenon with xenon 129 excesses. And so this is again attributed to early solar system iodine decay plus some trapped solar wind xenon. This doesn't prove there was a nuclear explosion on the moon any more than it proves there was a nuclear explosion on Mars. Gas giants and comets. The Galileo probe to Jupiter measured xenon isotopes. Comet 67P Rosetta mission also returned xenon data. Both show isotopic patterns that include xenon 129 excess, tracing back to the same early solar system iodine decay process. So it's found on Jupiter as well. But that's not proof there was a nuclear war on Jupiter. There is another explanation after all. It is the iodine decay process in the early solar system. The solar wind. When we analyze solar wind samples, such as the Genesis mission, they show xenon with a primordial isotopic mix, including xenon-129 contributions. That doesn't mean there's been nuclear war out there all over in space and got caught in the solar wind. That's just the natural way it is. So the bottom line, xenon-129 is not unique to Mars. It is found on Earth, in the moon, in meteorites, in gas giant atmospheres, and in comets. What makes Mars distinctive is its particular isotopic ratios. Because all of the other ones disappeared, there's a strong enrichment in xenon-129 relative to the lighter xenon isotopes. That's how we identify them as Martian rocks. So it's the trapped gases inside match the Martian atmospheric xenon ratios, not the abundance of xenon-129, but the ratios. The presence of xenon-129 everywhere is a relic of the early solar system iodine-129 decay seeded by ancient supernova. So, xenon-129 isn't Mars's secret signature. It's a universal inheritance from the early solar system. It's found in Earth, the moon, comets, and even Jupiter's atmosphere. What makes Mars special is the isotopic ratio, the way it's enriched in xenon-129 relative to the other xenon isotopes, and that is the fingerprint we use to prove Martian meteorites really came from Mars, and it's cool that we can do that. So, is there a source or two I can look into that? Says this lunar samples brought back by Apollo also contain xenon with xenon-129 excesses, I'm asking. This is again attributed to early solar system iodine decay plus some trapped solar wind xenon. It says, I dug up several scientific sources that do document xenon-129 excesses or radiogenic xenon-129 from extinct iodine-129 decay in lunar samples, Apollo Breccius. These are good for verifying that part of the discussion. Here are a few with excerpts of what they show. The key scientific sources, C.J. Behrman, xenon from plutonium, I believe that is, 244, and iodine-129, and Apollo 14 Breccius. This is 1973. This is in the journal Science Direct. One of the Apollo 14 lunar Breccias showed a xenon-129 excess that is likely due to decay of iodine-129. That is the sort of finding people sometimes misinterpret or twist. This is in the article from Science Direct. It gives you a direct link. That's why using ChatGPT is so valuable. Another key source is the noble gases in the moon and meteorites, radiogenic components of early volatile chronologies. This is by Swindle and Podasek, Gilmore, etc. This is in Geoscience World, and it gives you the link. This review chapter covers the noble gas measurements in lunar samples and meteorites, including the iodine xenon system, which tracks the decay of iodine-129 to xenon-129, showing that lunar materials record such excess xenon. That is in the Geoscience World article. So again, you've got a source that shows xenon on the moon, but that's not proof of nuclear war any more than it is on Mars. You have another source from PMC plus one, the iodine plutonium xenon age of the moon Earth by G. Avice. This is 2014. This paper models the evolution of xenon in the Earth atmosphere system, but includes isotopic fingerprints that is radiogenic xenon-129 and physiogenic xenon, used to compare Earth-Moon systems. It references lunar samples and lunar contributions. So what does this mean for the scientific context? These findings don't claim anything like fossils or life, just that early in solar system history, iodine-129, which is now extinct, decayed into xenon-129, and some of this got trapped in solidifying minerals or breccias on the moon and in Earth's geology. That excess means the samples have more xenon-129 than would be expected from a primordial or a solar wind xenon alone. So the inference is that there was original iodine-129 present when those materials formed. It decayed and left xenon-129. It wasn't a nuclear explosion that got the xenon-129 there. It was a supernova, but through indirect means, through iodine-129 decaying. Lunar rocks and meteorites, Earth mantle gases all show evidence of this ancient isotope system. And that is what is so important. Now, I ask the question, is argon-40 a sign of intense nuclear reactions on Mars? Apparently, there's a lot of it there. How does argon-40 come about in nature? Let's walk through argon-40 because that's what he also brought up. Argon-40 is the dominant isotope of argon in Earth's atmosphere, 99.6%. Argon-40. So it is not a direct product of nuclear weapons or fusion reactions. Instead, it's mostly produced by the radioactive decay of potassium-40. This is a naturally occurring isotope found in many rocks and minerals. So the potassium-40 has a half-life of 1.25 billion years. That's a long time. It decays in two ways. A beta decay, about 89%, it goes to calcium-40. And then the electron capture, about 11% of that goes to argon-40. So argon-40 accumulates inside rocks over geological time, and if released by volcanic outgassing or surface processes, it can enrich a planet's atmosphere. On Mars, what about argon-40 on Mars? As he was talking about, it's 2% argon, and this is relatively high compared to Earth's 0.93%. So argon is less on Earth than Mars, but that's not proof of nuclear war. Even more important, the isotopic ratio is skewed. Mars is strongly enriched with argon-40 relative to argon-36, and that is the primordial isotope delivered in the early solar nebula. This is because Mars lost much of its lighter atmosphere. Argon-36 escapes more easily. Argon-40 is kept generated internally from the decay of potassium-40 in rocks and volcanoes. So the high argon-40 ratio to argon-36 is one of the key isotopic fingerprints that let us confirm a meteorite is Martian. Trapped gases in those rocks match the Martian atmosphere's argon ratios. It's not that argon-40 proves there was nuclear war at all. That's not how it's done. Does argon-40 mean intense nuclear reactions? No. The presence of argon-40 does not imply active nuclear weapons-like reactions. Yes, in a sense. Here's the context that we were not given in the video interview. It does mean natural radioactive decay, that is, nuclear transformations in potassium-40, has been happening steadily over billions of years, but that's ordinary geochemistry, not bombs or reactors. The large amount of argon-40 on Mars reflects its ancient crust was rich in potassium minerals. Billions of years of potassium-40 decay produced the argon-40. Such as argon-40. So the key takeaway to all of this is argon-40 on Mars isn't evidence of bombs or artificial nuclear reactions. It's the natural end product of potassium-40 decay inside rocks. It's released by volcanoes and it's preserved in the atmosphere. Its abundance is a time capsule of Mars's geological and atmospheric history. And that's one reason it's used to fingerprint Martian meteorites. And that is really interesting. And I said, could you give me 2 or 3 good scientific sources on the argon-40 information? Notice, I am not relying on ChatGPT as the final say-so. I ask it to look for credible peer-reviewed sources, and it goes and finds those sources, and I can get the information from them. That is the true beauty of ChatGPT. It goes to sources I might not even know exist. And if I know they exist, I might not think of them at the time of my research, but ChatGPT will bring them in. This is absolutely priceless research power, in my opinion. Here are several good scientific sources that cover the origins, the measurements, and the implications of argon-40 in nature, including Mars and its production from potassium-40. These are credible papers or reviews. The key scientific sources on argon-40 and its natural role: Mars's atmospheric history derived from upper atmosphere measurements of argon-38 to argon-36 ratio. That's by B.M. Jakosky in the journal Science for the year 2017. This paper and its supplemental material discuss isotopic measurements of argon, the various different isotopes, in the Martian atmosphere, the losses over time of those isotopes, the fact that argon-40 is enriched relative to lighter isotopes because of internal generation and atmospheric escape. You can find that in the article in Science. Another source, argon isotopes as tracers for Martian atmospheric loss by M. Slipsky. This was in 2016. This article focuses on how measurements of the argon isotope abundances, including argon-40 / argon-36 ratios, can track how Mars has lost atmosphere over time. Notice it wasn't through a nuclear explosion. It's through decay. And how argon-40 is supplied through radioactive decay of potassium-40 and degassing. That's in the article in Science Direct. Another article is The Origin of Atmospheric Argon and the Radioactive Decay Constants of Potassium-40 by J.H. Poole and C.F.G. Delaney. And then to get on with it, the fourth source it gives me, I just want you to see, it gave me numerous sources that are credible peer-reviewed materials that show that argon-40 is a natural process. It does not only come from either supernova or nuclear explosions at all. That is way too restricted based on the nature of how radioactivity works in our universe. This is a much more realistic way to do it. So anyway, and then I ask it to summarize several of the papers because they are behind paywalls so that I can at least get the ideas of what the papers are about. Our Argon 40 is not evidence of bombs or exotic nuclear activity. It's a natural product of potassium decay. Its abundance on Mars, Earth, the moon shows that this process is universal in rocky planets. And the ratios of the argon isotopes tell us about planetary atmospheric loss and history. This is argon 40 is one of the most powerful tracers of geologic time and atmospheric evolution. So potassium decays into calcium or argon, depending on what route it takes. And anyway, this is some of the details. The scientific consensus is argon 40 on Mars is not evidence of bombs. It is the predictable product of potassium 40 decay. And this is the same process that fills Earth's atmosphere with argon and lets us date rocks to billions of years old. Brandenburg's neutron bomb trigger idea doesn't match the physics of potassium 40 decay nor the broader isotope evidence. Therefore, it's not a smoking gun of Martian nuclear war. And that's the point. So I wanted to share that with you guys. I know this was long and it was long-winded, but it's very, very important to understand that science is not all glitz and glitter. Sometimes we have to get our hands dirty in the mathematics. Sometimes we have to get our hands dirty in the chemistry, in the geology, in the geophysics, in the astronomy, etc. It's okay to learn about, and it's extremely helpful to learn about using ChatGPT, as I have tried to demonstrate tonight. It would have taken me weeks to track down these sources. It would have cost me some money to buy these papers. Instead, I get a summary from ChatGPT. I get the scientific sources that are available for free also that I can read, and which I have done. I get to learn about how cosmological chemistry actually works, and I come to realize that against the claim of Dr. Brandenburg, my suspicion is Tyson could answer his idea rather easily because I answered it rather easily, and I am not near on the same level of caliber of quality of powerful scholar and scientist as either of those two, but I don't need to be. What I need is credible sources. ChatGPT always finds the credible sources. It will summarize them. It will share with you the links to those sources so that you can read the sources yourself and you can learn the actual process. If it's in too complicated of language, these articles, you can ask ChatGPT, would you explain the science and the ideas and the evidence in these articles as if I was a seventh grader, please, but don't miss any of the science. Give me some analogies, use some metaphors if you want, and it will do that directly. Now, if you want, tell me in the comments, seriously. Those of you who haven't used ChatGPT really ought to see this happen. It's astonishing. Those of you who have used ChatGPT but didn't recognize that you could make it talk to you in easier to understand vocabulary, you're going to want to see this. Tell me in the comments right here, right now. Would you be interested in me asking ChatGPT right now live to explain the Argon 40 issue on Mars and the Xenon 129 issue on Mars in seventh grade language? I will do it right now, and it won't take but just a couple of minutes. And you will see for yourselves the pure power of having access to vital scientific information that's real, that's actual. There's nothing wrong with studying actual science, I promise. Okay, I'm seeing sure. I'm seeing yes, yes. Oh, someone's sighing. Yeah, all right. I don't know if you're sighing about me or something said in the comments. It's all good. Explain the tektites and fission tracks found on Earth and the moon. Okay, let me first ask ChatGPT about what I said I was going to, and then I will ask it about that if you would like, Timron. That would be very cool. Okay, you side to someone else. That's cool. No, it's all good. It's good. Yes, sure. Okay, so most of you are saying yes. This is one feature of chat I absolutely have fallen in total love with, is this pure power to make it understandable. I'll go to the 7th grade level, then I'll go to the 9th grade level, and we can compare the two responses. And I will tell it to respond in only a paragraph of under 300 words. That way we're not here all night reading a full report. Okay. Yeah, let's do this. I'm not kidding. This is just one of the coolest cockeyed things I can possibly show you. Okay. Will you explain to me, as if I am a 7th grader, the scientific idea of the decay into 129 xenon? It knows what I mean, but I'm going to type it out anyway, just in case. Xenon. And the decay into argon 40, and why this doesn't mean a nuclear war on Mars. Say a 400-word paragraph will do. Use an analogy or two if you think it will help. Let's see what it comes up with. Let's see how fast it works. Okay, here we go. Let's check it out. There it is. All right, here's a 400-word middle school friendly explanation. I want to make sure it's saying you're seeing this. All right. 400-word middle school explanation with analogies to make the idea of radioactive decay and isotope buildup clear, and why it's not evidence of nukes on Mars. Here it is. Imagine you have a giant hourglass filled with sand. Once you flip it, the sand will always fall from the top to the bottom at a steady pace. You don't need to shake it, kick it, or set off an explosion. It just runs because of gravity. Radioactive decay works in a similar way. Some atoms, like iodine 129 and potassium 40, are naturally unstable hourglasses. They slowly change into other atoms at a very steady rate, measured by something scientists call a half-life. For iodine 129, that half-life is about 15.7 million years. Over time, it all turns into xenon 129, which is stable. For potassium 40, the half-life is much longer, about 1.25 billion years. As it runs down, part of it changes into calcium 40 and part into argon 40. Now, here's the important part. This transformation happens all by itself. You don't need a nuclear bomb or a special trigger. It's as natural as the sand in the hourglass falling on its own. In fact, this is happening inside rocks on Earth right now, and it's been happening for billions of years. That's why Earth's atmosphere is almost completely argon 40. The same goes for Mars, the moon, and even meteorites. They all carry the fingerprints of these slow natural changes. So Why do some people talk about nuclear war on Mars? It comes from noticing that Mars has a lot of xenon-129 and argon-40. But scientists understand those abundances perfectly well from natural radioactive decay. If there had been a massive nuclear war or explosions, we would expect to find all sorts of other short-lived nuclear ashes, strange isotopes of iodine, cesium, or strontium that are always produced in weapons tests here on Earth. Whoa, there's a cool point too. None of those show up in Martian meteorites or in the atmosphere data from spacecraft. Hey, there's another angle of this. Whoa, that's awesome. Instead, what we see fits exactly with what you would expect from ancient hourglasses of iodine-129 and potassium-40 that have been running since the birth of the solar system. So, the presence of xenon-129 and argon-40 is like seeing a pile of sand under an hourglass. It doesn't mean someone smashed it or blew it up. It simply means time has passed and the universe's natural clocks have been ticking steadily away on Mars just as they have on Earth. Now, come on, that's cool. Doggone it, that's cool. Now, tell me the same thing. This was kind of long, wasn't it? Watch what I can do with chat. Tell me the same thing, only as if I am a, let's go high school, early high school, 10th grader. 10th grader. First year in high school. Make it a 300-word paragraph this time. Use analogies if it will help. So I'm asking it to make it more complex, a higher intellectual level, but with less words, a 300-word paragraph. Let's see what it gives us. This is so cool to do. Got it. Here's a 300-word explanation pitched at a 10th grade level now instead of 7th grade. All right, let's see what it says. Radioactive isotopes are like unstable clocks built into atoms. Some atoms aren't perfectly balanced, and over time, they spontaneously change into new forms. Take iodine-129. It was created in supernova explosions before our solar system formed. With a half-life of 15.7 million years, every atom of iodine-129 eventually decayed into xenon-129, a stable isotope of xenon. That's why meteorites, the moon, Mars, and Earth all show excess xenon-129. It's the natural record of this early decay process. Similarly, potassium-40, which is common in rocks, decays with a half-life of 1.25 billion years. About 89% of the time, it becomes calcium-40, but about 11% of the time, it becomes argon-40. Over billions of years, that slow process has filled Earth's atmosphere with argon-40. That's about 99.6% of all argon here, and enriched Mars's atmosphere too. The key idea is that this process doesn't need bombs or external triggers. It's as natural as ice melting or sand falling in an hourglass, driven by the atom's own internal instability. Some alternative claims suggest that xenon-129 or argon-40 on Mars proves there was a nuclear war, but that's not how decay works. If nuclear explosions had happened, we would see a whole suite of short-lived fission products, cesium-137, strontium-90, odd xenon and krypton isotopes, just like the signatures left by Earth's weapons tests. None of those show up in Martian data. What we do see is entirely consistent with long-term radioactive decay of iodine-129 and potassium-40, the same processes shaping isotopes across the solar system. So they aren't evidence of catastrophe. They're natural timekeepers, silent proof that the same atomic clocks ticking away on Earth have also been running on Mars since the dawn of the solar system. There you have it, a shorter explanation on a higher level of information. Now, from this point, if you did not understand what an isotope is, you could ask it, what's an isotope? When you say one element decays into another, what does that mean? And it will tell you all about the electrons and the electron transfer and all kinds of stuff. It will share with you as much information in detail as you want it to, and you can ask it for more clarification over 1 trillion times, and it will never get bored. It will never get frustrated. It will never call you names. It will always give you information on the level that you want that information. Look, that's incredible. You never have to be deceived again. In science, philosophy, religion, history, economics, politics, etc. You can literally break down whatever issue you don't understand on a first grader's level. Would you like to see this on a first grader level in a 100-word paragraph? I'll prove this to you. This is breathtaking how well this works. I'm going to do this. I promise it will blow your mind. It really does do this. If you want it as simple as you can get, can you tell me the same decay info and why this isn't proof of nuclear war on Mars, as if I am a first grader? Analogies are welcome. Can you tell me in a 200-word paragraph? So the 7th grader, it doesn't matter if it's capitalized or not. The 7th grader had a 400-word paragraph. The first grader gets a 200-word paragraph. Let's see what it does. Sure thing. Here's a 200-word explanation written at a first grade level with simple analogies. Watch. This is so fun. Think of some toys that wobble because they can't stand up straight. After a while, they tip over all by themselves. Some atoms in nature are like that. They are a little shaky, so they slowly change into something else. Long ago, the atom, iodine-129, was like a wobbly toy. Over time, it changed to xenon-129, which is steady and doesn't change anymore. Another atom, potassium-40, also wobbles. Sometimes it changes into calcium, and sometimes it changes into argon-40. This happens very slowly, like sand running through an hourglass, and it doesn't need anyone to push it. On Earth, this is why we have so much argon gas in the air. On Mars, scientists also see argon-40 and xenon-129. Some people say this means there was a giant bomb or war on Mars, but that isn't true. If a bomb had gone off, there would be lots of other messy leftovers like different broken pieces of atoms, and we don't see those at all. What we see matches what happens when atoms change slowly, all by themselves, over billions of years. So, xenon-129 and argon-140 are not proof of war. They are nature's clocks quietly ticking away on both Earth and Mars. And then it says, would you like me to also draw a kid-friendly cartoon-style diagram like toys tipping into new toys or sand falling into a jar to go along with this explanation? It even offers you more help. But is that not amazing that it can do stuff like that? Come on. You've seen a 10th grade level explanation, a 7th grade level explanation, and now a first grader explanation of the exact same decay process contact. And each one gave you a really nifty little analogy to help you grasp it at that level. Now, you can go all the way up into professional scientific professor of 39 years tenure, and it will word it that way. You could ask it to go into exquisite detail for 15 pages and give you total analysis and chemical knowledge, and it will do that for you if that's what you want. Now, if you're not excited about it, to me, this is phenomenal. So, yeah, that's fun. That is fun. So, I'm just saying, it's a lot of fun to study the science when you can understand what it means and what it is. And it's a lot of fun to check claims of scientists, because not all of them are right. Just because they're a scientist doesn't mean they're right. And if they turn around and ridicule you because you disagree with them, sometimes like Neil deGrasse Tyson does, then you can call them out. You say, hey, knock that stupid shit off. I'm trying to learn science. I don't need you to ridicule me because I don't believe your conclusion based on your evidence. There's another piece of evidence that you're missing that shows something else. Don't ridicule me for finding that. You have the right to disagree. And it's the same with religious leaders. It's the same with politicians. It's the same with historians. Man, no one hardly is more stodgy and cocksure of themselves than the historians. I know I majored in history. I butted heads with a lot of them through the years, but it's still a fun process to learn and understand. So, and yes, ChatGPT will research sources for you in German, Italian, Czechoslovakian, or Hopi languages and translate the texts for you to tell you what they mean. No joke. You're not stuck with just your native language. You can go to foreign languages even. You can do the same thing in mathematics. Who doesn't know by now that the Germans are some of the greatest mathematicians and scientists on our planet? Still, you can get their works in their original language and have it translated, and then you can break down their mathematics down to whatever level you can understand it. You can even ask it to explain each and every single mathematical step and process and what each of the math symbols mean, and then help you do problems until you understand how to do the math, if that's what you want to learn. ChatGPT will do that for you. That's remarkable. To me, that is, man, we live in a great age. Again, chat is not the final answer. It's not. It can be wrong. You must be careful. That's why, if you can and as you can, you do need to check on it. I have talked to some mathematicians who think it's pretty lousy at math, but so far with the math stuff that I've asked it, it's been super sensationally helpful. But then I'm not up into the abstract mathematics after 22 years of studying it either. I'm just still down here on the very simple algebra, pre-calculus, calculus 1 level. I never even got to calculus formally, let alone calculus 2 or whatever. Advanced man, that is foreign to me, but I'm no longer scared of it because I know I can learn it if I really need to, and I can have it taught to me step by step. As if, did you know that ChatGPT, boy, this is becoming all about ChatGPT. Sorry, but this stuff is cool. You can have ChatGPT teach you calculus if you really need to know calculus on a first grader level. You think I'm kidding, don't you? I've done it. I've asked about calculus problems, and I've asked it, would you please explain to me how to solve this thing, as if I am a first grader, and help me understand why I get the answer I get, and show me step by step, and it will do that. So yes, and my painting. I forgot. I've got a new painting. Do you want me to run in the house and get it? I'll be off screen for another minute. You probably bore the hell out of you. You'll never come back and watch me again. But I've got my brand new painting, and it's the best one I've ever done. I'm serious. I spent 38 hours on this watercolor painting, and it's a big one. Yes, you want? Okay. Okay, let me run and grab my painting real quick. Sorry, I meant to bring it out. I didn't know it was going to rain tonight. Doggone it. Okay, I'll be right back. I'll hurry, I promise. Just stay calm, everybody. Whistle Dixie for me for a minute. Okay, I'm telling you, this is about as informal and unprofessional as it can possibly get. I apologize. I feel terrible, but yes, I will get over it. So, I better push the caps lock off. Okay. Okay. Here is my new painting. Now, and I forgot to get it. Never mind. This is it. Let's see if you can see it very clearly. Try to straighten it up. There you go. That's my painting. Now, this was a fun picture. I got creative with it. I wish it was my backyard. Yeah, Bob Ross would love this. There's a close-up of it. Show you some of the details. I'll show you the high details in the sky, then the low details. Oh, now I'm just messing it up. There's the mountains and the clouds. There's the waterfalls. It's a beautiful place. And then there's the rocks and the river. Don't know if you can see that or not. Anyway, I know there's a fish in that stream that's yelling at me to come and grab him, right? But this is fun stuff. I think this is like a 11 by 18 or something like that. It's a bigger piece. I wanted it bigger so that I could put in a lot of the details. See, watercolor is, I'm self-taught in watercolor. So many people said, well, it's too complicated. It's hard. You can't do it without lessons and all that. And the minute someone says you can't do this or that, I go try it. So, yeah, watercolor is tricky. There's no question about it. You have to paint several dozen paintings before you start getting the feel for it. But, you know, once you learn a few of the techniques and you lose your fear of trying them, it can be a delight. It's pretty spectacular and awesome. So I have a lot of fun. What's the price? I could let it go for $2.99 if you're interested, sincerely. And I, honest to goodness, think that's a complete bargain. But I would let it go for that. If you really did want it, I'd be willing to. Talk to me in my email and I'll arrange it. But Yeah. Yeah. I don't have a frame on it, but yeah, you're more than welcome to purchase it. I'll sell it to you. I've been commissioned on a Desert Southwest piece that I'm going to be doing. And then I'm going to do another one that's a ship in a stormy sea that I've been asked to do. So, I mean, people are really enjoying them. They love them. So I will $3. No, $299. Not three. That's not $2.99, $2.99. That's $2.99. I know. You're funning me. That's what I love about you, Timron. You're funning me. I hope I didn't offend anybody. Yeah, $299. I hope I didn't offend anybody refuting a few people tonight. Sometimes that's what it takes. Even if we know they're valid scientists, even though we know they're valid artists or historians, etc., because we are all human, right? And we can make mistakes. Look, I can be refuted hundreds of times. That's true. And I have been, and I will continue to be so. But on the other hand, there are some times when the amateur gets things right and the professional is wrong. I mean, just look at Einstein, right? He went entirely against the establishment of all of science, and he was right way more than just once. He was right over and over and over and over again. So anyway, oh, well, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. Dollars. Go US. No, I don't do Bitcoin or anything like that. Sorry. No, I just want the cold hard cash. I hate to sound greedy, but that's how it works. That way I can redo my supplies. You know, I used a lot of brown and a lot of green in this one, and actually quite a bit of blue. It's amazing how much I buy the watercolor in tubes. It's more quality. And that's why else my paintings are getting good. I don't just use the stupid chintzy ones in the plastic containers that have a small dab of 27 different colors. Yeah, but 90% of those are just junk. It's much better to get the tubes. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, you guys. Well, I have taken enough of your time, and I have taken enough of my time, and I have thoroughly enjoyed tonight. Thank you for being here and sharing this time with me. I have a lot of fun with you guys. You're a terrific audience. It's a lot of fun to celebrate learning something. It's a lot of fun celebrating learning something new. And I got to confess, it's a lot of fun debunking something that's supposed to be accurate and it's not. You know, it's all just part of the game of give and take. And I'm very seldom really formal, and so I hope you'll forgive me for that. I just like to get the information out there any way we can, learn a thing or two, laugh a little bit, make fun of each other as friends, and come away wiser. Yeah, we don't need more smarts in this world. We need more wisdom. So, all right. Thank you. Appreciate all of you. Yeah, I'm going to head out too. So you guys have a good week. I will be back with many more videos. Yeah, I've got another dragon I'm working on too, Timron. Yeah, I'm serious. I've got a second one I'm working on. I've just got to get it finished. I'm going to be another 30 hours on him, but I will definitely show you when I get that done. That's going to be a whopper. So, all right, you guys. See you soon with more fun subjects on the way. And yes, 3-Eye Atlas is going to be in my videos. It's going to be here by the end of this week. I want to see if it runs into Mars or not. I'm saying it's a comet. It's not going to. It would be utterly spectacular if it slowed down, stopped, and landed on Mars. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to be thrilled out of my gourd to be told I was wrong if that happened. Wouldn't that just rock? Or would it just terrify the hell out of all of us? I don't know. But boy, it'd be interesting. I'm just saying. Yep. All right, you guys, have a great night. See you soon.